Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's edition of Office Hours. Super excited to be here. I am in the airport, so if y'all hear background noise, that's what's going on. I am headed to the Bahamas for our annual retreat, Vision 2020, and Meredith will be joining me in just a couple days. Are you excited,
I'm so
Meredith?
excited. Oh my gosh. Can you see the winter outside? I'm beyond excited.
So as you all know, today's conversation is all around, you gotta move that if you want to get some of that, whatever's in that cup. We're live, we saw that.
We're live.
So we are gearing up for that. But if you saw in the promotional materials, like today's conversation is all about balancing it all. Like, how do you be mom, boss, daughter, just everything. And so Meredith is actually the genius behind this week's subject matter. You picked it, which I think is great because I think it's something that a lot of people struggle with. So Meredith, like, what is one of the key things that you find to be important when it comes to managing it all?
Well, first of all, I asked the question because I don't know the answer.
Oh,
so I love that you turned around back on me. I mean, I think it's a problem that we all face, right? And I always tell my clients, even, you can do it all, just not all at once, right? You can do it all, just not by yourself. Right. And so when it comes to something like this, I'll just take a second because there are people who have not been listening to this point and they do not understand what this is that you have put together. So if you live in the Bahamas, you saw it in the newspaper, or you might have seen it even in church on Sunday. But Vision 2020 is something that we've been talking about, Angel, for like 6 months. When you first had this vision and you were like, I see it for 2, right?
Yeah.
2 being February,
Yep.
2020. And I was like, yo, that's genius. I'm in. I'll go. Done. Even though I have a client having a big event here at that same time frame, it was like, no, I have to be there. And what I noticed in my own life is when I committed that far out to a vision that struck me at the beginning, that lined up a lot of things in my life because I set a priority for this time.
Yeah.
It has not been a question, right? I built it into my budget. I built it into my plans. I built it into my business. And it's new for me. Like, I feel like as a mom with 2 kids, like, prioritizing my planning, prioritizing my development, and making sure that there's joy, like planning for joy in your life.
Right.
So when you talk about doing it all, that can often like feel like just doing all of the work, doing all of the stuff we don't like to do. But like, you seem to do it all, and it looks amazing. Like, so that's what I want to know. Like, how do you one know that this is the thing that you want to do? And in this case, like, just tell me, like, with Bahamas, all these different things, going back and forth, you do a lot of international traveling. I just want to know, like, your top 3 tricks that I, as a small person in the Midwest, might take forward in my life.
Girl, bye. So I think for me, it goes back to kind of like what you said. If you think about, like, life, there are 2 things that are absolute, that will not change no matter what. And that's time and change, right? There are 2 things that you can't control. And it's 2 things that people struggle with dealing with. And so with time, we each have the same amount of time in a given day, but we all handle it differently. Many of us, we allow time to affect what it is that we're going to do. We allow our whatever changes that come throughout our life to kind of dictate what happens in that time frame, right? But if you plan, going back to what you said, and say, okay, from this time to this time, this is what's going to get executed. So one of my mentors, Angela Dingle, she taught me a while ago, like, she literally plans out her day by the hour, okay? So she doesn't check emails just randomly when they pop up on her phone. There's a set time schedule that she's going to check her emails. Same thing with social media. A lot of us, we are in this time warps where we allow things to just take, right? It's like leeches, like just sucking out the time from our lives. And so I was recently listening to like Miles Monroe even, right? And he was saying how they tell us that we need 8 hours of sleep. But if you look at that over a week, 7 days, that is 48 hours worth of sleep, or 50 some hours worth of sleep. That's 2 days that you're sleeping. That if you use that time to do something and to plan, okay, this is how I'm going to spend it, this is what I'm going to accomplish in this time frame, then you have more control over your life. So
hold on. So is your secret that you don't sleep? Is that what the secret is? You sleep less?
I really don't, like...
Really? So what time, how much sleep do you get? This is fascinating. My mind is blown.
So for me, like, it depends. Like, so I flip. So after I came back from Thailand, like, I literally would get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and I would be good. I would probably crash around 9:30, but then I was back up maybe around midnight and I would kind of like be on some chill. And then, but 3 o'clock, girl, I was cranking out magic. I was like, ooh, I like this system.
They say that that's like your magical, that those are the magical hours in the universe between 2 and 4, you know?
Yeah, like it is crazy how much you can get accomplished, especially if you can't sleep. I mean, it wasn't that I couldn't sleep, it was just I was off schedule, right? On the flip side, I feel like if you're sending emails at 5 o'clock in the morning versus 2 o'clock in the morning, you look like you have a little bit more structure to your life to other people. Like, if you're doing it 2 o'clock in the morning, it means you procrastinated and you didn't get it done until late.
Or you couldn't sleep. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or it's 5 o'clock in the morning and it's like, oh, this person's on it. They're up, they're active, and they're getting things done. So, you know, but the planning aspect is so important. Like you mentioned earlier, like me and the kids. Like, you have to kind of prioritize, like, those things. You can't just be like, I don't know what's going to happen with the kids today. You have to say, okay, well, I might need somebody to go pick up the kids if I'm doing X, Y, or Z, or if I'm traveling. Like, what is that schedule going to look like? What time is going to be absolutely dedicated to spending with the kids? So there's no, like, oh,
no, I love that. Yeah, because I think it goes in contrast to, right, what we all do, which is multitask, right? So it's like, well, I'm going to spend time with the kids, I'm going to go do this, I'm going to go do this, I'm going to do this. And you have been such a mentor to me in motherhood and being a better mom, and just saying, if you take 10 minutes to really sit down and give them 100% of your attention, that's better than an hour of your distracted, or like we were both just happening to watch a screen together. And it really is. I think especially with boys, you know, like boys and men in general need a lot. They need a lot. And so I think that idea of how do you fit those relationships, right? Because like you said in the beginning, that's a role you play, but it's also a relationship that you know you have control over how that plays out and how they feel. I really love that. So in this trip, how did you sort that into your planning? Because your kids aren't traveling with you.
No, they're not coming with me this time. So if people watch like my Facebook Lives, like that I've just been trying to do, like they will come in and I embrace it. Like,
yeah, you do.
You know, I just be like, okay, this is what's happening, because it goes back to like what you said. If you just include them and you make them feel a part, they're like, oh, okay, oh, you chilling, you not tripping that I'm in this? All right, deuces. I'm going to go back to whatever it was that I was doing, right?
Right.
And so, like, before, like, yesterday was President's Day. So they were home all day. We were home, so, you know what I mean? So it was like an extended weekend. We didn't really have a whole lot of plans. Noah, my oldest, was like, Mommy, we want to play football. Okay. You know, I had a ton of crap to do. But I knew if I just took that time, even if it was 15 minutes, to go throw the ball with them, then they will feel satisfied and not feel like they're being put on the back burner for my work. Because at the end of the day, I know in the next few days, I'm about to be gone for the next week. So how can I make sure that they feel like a priority while I am home? And after I went out there, threw the football with them, ran around the yard a few times, they were good. We came back in and I could send them outside by themselves. And then the next thing you knew, they had collected some rocks and was like, created a business.
I know. Which I love. I want to like I want to make their website for them. Like, oh my gosh. Prayer rocks.
Yes. And they're so serious about it. And they were so mad that they couldn't go out to the curb and start selling them yesterday. And I was like, y'all, mommy can't go out there and watch y'all. We'll start this when I get back. I promise.
They try to have a now business, Angel. They're trying to do the now.
Yes. They get it all away from their mama.
Yeah, I mean, clearly. I love that. I really like I think there are so many things you say in there, and it doesn't just apply if you have kids. I think that's for anybody in your life.
Yeah.
Anything that you have that you're avoiding that needs your attention. I think that's where fear comes in, right? Is that fear can make us not do it right. So, you can say like, oh, okay, I'm going to multitask. I'm going to go out there, but I'm not really throwing the football. Or I'm mad about it. Yeah. Like, I always keep going back to my Oprah moment when Oprah was like, everybody keeps telling Oprah that it's so inspiring that she does what she likes. And she's like, I don't know why y'all are doing things you don't like. Like,
yeah.
What must that be like?
Right. So,
right.
So what would you say is the one thing that's hindering you from being able to balance all of the various aspects of your life?
I don't know if it's anything. If it's ever anything, I always believe it's me. I never believe that there's anything outside of myself that can stop me. I think for me, it is still new. I mean, my boys are 6 and 4, and we're all kind of continuously going through these shifts of what they need from me. I think there's also kind of that shift of their own time management. And so I'm in that place of it's not enough for me to plan ahead. I got to plan ahead for them. And that sometimes gets clunky because I'm still trying to figure out, well, what does that really
look like?
Mean? Yeah. So it's definitely, as a recovering procrastinator and perfectionist, it is a very difficult time because the other thing is at this age, there's so much you don't know. Mm-hmm. Like, so planning to go away, I'm like, I want to assume everything is going to go well, but I'm trying to anticipate what are the things that will only happen because you're going somewhere. Right. So I think that the unknown in the planning sometimes prevents me from actually taking action.
Right. And so, I mean, I love this topic. And it's essentially like a part of the book that I have coming out later this year called Her Therapy. And it's all about kind of mommy guilt and how do you overcome mommy guilt and what are those things that you can do. And I literally like kind of map out like all of the personal time that I allocate like for my kids. There's a tradition that we do at bedtime. There is, even things that I do like before I travel. So I will do it today now that I'm talking about it. Like I write letters to my kids because every time that I get on a plane, who knows if I'm going to make it home, like with, all of the things that are possible. But if I take the time and I constantly write to them and they know, like, this is how you felt on this day when mommy left. This is what we talked about before I left. This is what mommy did while she was gone. So as they get older, they're able to reflect back and see, like, oh, well, she didn't just leave. She actually still was carrying us with us. And she has, like, this journal of stories that we're able to, like, really be able to go back and reflect on. So that's, like, one of the things that I do as well.
I love that. I remember my mom used to do that when I was little, and I used to really like that. And she was in postcards and places, and so that's a beautiful thing. I have to work on, like, I never think anywhere I'm going is that exciting. I'm like, you don't care about New York. I ain't got nothing here for you.
But it's not the place that you're going.
Right.
It's that separation. And whenever they reflect back, like, if they don't have anything, they may just think, mommy was always gone. Mommy was gone, but I was carrying you with me. Like, and here's kind of something tangible that you have as a, something to...
Yeah. I think the other thing is, it's okay for your kids to think that you're gone. I mean, I think even for myself, it's fine. I mean, I had 2 parents that traveled all the time, and it made me a lot more independent. So I think it's good. Like I said, my mom used to send me those postcards, but my dad never did anything, and I'm a perfectly fine adult. So if you're a mom and you're watching and you haven't started doing all the Angel stuff, you're still good. You're still doing a great job. Kids are fine either way.
Angels is extra.
Right. Yeah. But I mean, I think that is the thing. When we talk about doing it all, my doing it all is I need to provide for this family. I need to make sure that everybody has what they need. If I can get to the other loving things, that's great. We do gratefuls and things like that at night too. But I think that's what so many people, I think that's what they're saying to Oprah. Is like, how do you make it so much a part of your lifestyle that it is a part of your business? It's a part of Here's how I pack. Here's how I eat my breakfast. Like, it really has permeated her whole life, as opposed to like somebody who says, well, I picked up this worksheet and for this trip, I did this, this, and this, right?
Yeah.
So when you think about your progression to this point of, dare I say, mastery, since you're now writing a book about it, talk to me about, like, what was the first thing that you did that you noticed, wow, this is making a difference, I'm going to do more of this? And then I'll tell you mine.
So I actually would have to back it up a little bit more.
Okay.
So for me, and this is, I mean, for the men listening, like, y'all just have to deal with this part. So for me, it was more, I went through a stint of having numerous miscarriages. So I had 5 miscarriages consecutively, right? So after and I had doctors telling me, you don't have really a good shot of having kids, like without having some type of intervention, scientific intervention. Angel didn't receive that. It was very much like, you must not know who I am.
Hello. Right.
And
You got
so,
somebody else's paperwork. Mm-mm.
Right. And so, like, from that, I believe that God took me through that journey because of where I was going. And I wouldn't have the traditional 9-to-5 job. And if I didn't go through those situations of loss, then I wouldn't have appreciated my children once they got here, right? So I feel like I had to go through that. So there was this level of like, no, y'all are my priority. And yes, the business and all of that is important, but I fought for y'all. Like, I worked my butt off for y'all, right? And so now that has shifted how I parent. It has shifted how I pour into my kids and all of that. So I would say that was like the key indicator in my case. Because that made me want to think outside of the box and do things differently. And not to say, I mean, my parents were great and they were active and we took family trips and all of that. But for me, it was more of what can I do to infuse my world into their world. So even if we are separated, you have a clear-cut understanding of who mommy is and what mommy does.
Yeah.
So those were like some of the things for me that were just like drastically important. How about you?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, I think we're both similar in that we had difficulty in the beginning. And then so you do look at parenting different. I think for me, what made me change things was so many things. But when I realized that, like, planning could make a difference. You know, if I had thought about this a little bit longer, it would be better than just getting to this moment. And so I think for me, starting out in parenting, it's always been that question of like, how long do I have to do something and it doesn't work before I can change it?
Yeah.
Right? Especially when kids are little, because they're telling you need a routine. And so for me, the biggest thing that has been helpful in trying to do it all is really being honest about when something needs to be codified as a routine or as a system, as you said last week. So I'm very system and process oriented. But that for me is a thing. So like until it's like a system and I've proven it. So I have like checklists. I wish I had one here, but I have like packing checklists. I have all these things that I've written down because I mean, I've been traveling. I mean, we've both been traveling. This is not a new thing, right? So you know what you need.
Right.
The struggle is it's completely different when you're trying to do it with all of these other pieces. So I feel like I'm always trying to pick up the tips of how do you do more now that you've like mastered this level. So for me, it's like now, Meredith, that you fit yourself back into your timeline. Now, how do you figure out what else you can layer in there without maybe sacrificing everything that you fought to put back in? So yeah, the planning piece.
Now, I would say, well, let me just go to our audience really quickly. If you are tuning in to Office Hours, shoot us a note so we know that you're here. We would love to shout you out. And if you have a question or if you have something that you would like to share, we would love to include you in the conversation. Now, Meredith, I feel like we've talked a lot about the kids, right?
I'm giving us hearts. Yes.
Okay. But I feel like the kids are a byproduct of a relationship, right? So how do you manage the relationship aspect of mommyhood and business owner? Because sometimes Well, and I think this is such a perfect like question, like going into the retreat. Sometimes your relationship can either propel because they get it, or it can just completely collapse because of a lack of understanding. So what would you say about that? What's been your experience?
I'll say, and then I noticed we got Disha has a comment here for us too. I think for me, I've been really fortunate. My dad was an entrepreneur, and I grew up with that. Like on Saturdays, we'd go check on the businesses, and so I grew up with that kind of like going along and doing the work. So I think I unintentionally just like forced my boys into it because I was like, listen, a business is a family thing. So you guys are my kids. So when I was doing the book, they helped me ship the things out. Yeah, like we went to the mailbox. And it was very important for me that they understand that I work very hard, but that it's a gift. And I think how it shows up is that if I'm being honest for the people who don't know me, I'm extraordinarily hard on myself. If I was to ask Noah, my boys, they would say doing a wonderful job as a mom, right? But for me, I'm always like, I don't know. So I think, having something like your business to be able to talk about some of these things with your kids that are more intangible, like their self-esteem, how do you feel? And we'll have really deep conversations about like, well, the client said I did a good job. I got paid for it. So I did do a good job. And he'll be like, stop, mommy. You did a good job. I'm like, yeah, that's right. So, I see it in that kind of a way of that I'm trying to give them the resilience and the lessons and the skills that I know I saw when my parents, everything didn't go right. I think that's a lot of us saw our parents at one point or another, it not go right, and we survived. God willing, you lived through that. And so that's my hope for them every time I leave. It's hard for them. It's hard for me. But when I come back, it's like, man, we need that. I think different families need different things, and our family needs that break sometimes to appreciate that, mommy got something to do too.
But so and I think you and I talked about this one time. Like, so one of my old bosses, Myrna Blythe, when I was pregnant with Nelson, which is my youngest, she told me, she was like, Angel, I'm so glad that you're coming back to work. She said, especially after having a boy. She said a lot of times people get wrapped up in their kids and they lose who they are. They lose their drive, they lose their ambition because it's like they feel like they have to. Like society has told you, like, as a mom, you need to be at home, you need to be catering to your kids. She said, but when you're the mother of boys, you have to show them and lead by example so they will know what kind of woman that they should like be attracted to. And so she's like, so I applaud you for that. And that was, sorry, y'all, hopefully y'all can hear me. I'm in the Starbucks, so they're like making something.
I know, I was going to say, I want a latte.
So I thought that was really, really like a very interesting thing. So let's go to our question with Disha. She says, is there a certain amount of time you allocate during each day to focus on various aspects of your life, such as work, family, and me time? So I'm going to start this off and then I'll pitch it to you, Meredith. Okay. I would say the thing that people do wrong, and Meredith and I talked about this right before the show started. Meredith, right in your screen, we're losing you. You're getting dark.
Oh, no.
The thing that I feel like people do wrong is that they try to weave me time in, or they try to add it in after the fact. But if you focus on what you need in the beginning, and you get that kind of like out of the way, then you feel like you're good, you're energized, and you'll be amazed at how much more energy you have to be effective in all of the different areas of your life. Like, so for instance, like sex. Like, sometimes people don't take the time to have sex. Like, they think like, oh, I don't have time for this. Like, this is like, I just don't have time for it. But sometimes, if you take the time to have that stress reliever, then you can function more efficiently. Like, it clears your mind. It does a whole lot of different things. Like, y'all can check the research on this. I'm not just making this up. Like, but it relaxes you. It clears you. And it's something for you. Like, I mean, it should be something for you. Like, if you're in a situation where it's not for you, then Honestly.
Who knew when you dialed in for office hours in the middle of the day that you were going to get a commercial for an afternoon quickie? Hey, go ahead, girl. So you grown? We grown?
But I'm just saying, it just gives you
Yes.
a
Live
little
your life.
more
Be happy.
energy
Yes.
where
However
you
you
can
get
do
it.
more.
Get it, girl. Yes. I'm with
Anyway,
you.
so
Woof.
I would say, like, start with me first. Just like they
Yes.
say on the airplane, put your mask on before you take care of everybody else. What would
That's
you
the first
say
thing.
about work and family?
So I would say about specific time. Again, I'm like the systems process one. It's so apparent now. But I don't do any work stuff before 9 because then I can be really focused when the kids are waking up. I'm 100% there with them. I can snuggle with them. I can do whatever love they need. Because once they're out the door, they're gone for the day. And then I do the same thing at the end of the day. I really try most nights out of the week to protect that time when they're first coming home so we can do homework together and we can kind of get settled and get through their routine. So I try to really do all of my work between 10 and 3 during the day. And then on Saturday, I try to do the reverse. And I'll get up early, do all of my work. So then I have that first part where they actually like care to hang out with me together. So that's the way I do it. Yeah, it's odd. It's worked for me, but I'm more of a routine person. And that way, I've just found that, like to your point with the email, if there's any possibility of a distraction, it's easy to get distracted. Yeah.
So to your point, there's a book called The Compound Effect, and it essentially talks about bookends. And I feel like that's
Yeah.
really what you're saying. Like, you allocated this
Mhm.
during these hours, this is my time. During these hours,
Yeah.
this is my time. And what that allows you to do is to tackle your most important task before life happens, right?
Mhm.
It's rare that at 5 o'clock in the morning you're going to have some catastrophic event. It
Right.
happens, it's possible. But on a day to day basis, if you can get up and knock out whatever it is that you're hoping to accomplish, then no matter what comes your way, this goes back to that time and change things, the things that you cannot change, you've already accomplished something major.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
no matter what happens throughout your day, you can go about it and be like, well, at least I got that done.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, it's a huge thing, and I have to say, like, when you think about how you make intentional differences in your life, I came out of a career where I didn't have control over my morning. Because by the time you woke up at 5 o'clock, I was given the overnight report of all the things that went wrong that night.
Right.
So I think people, that's a part of, and not to put in a shameless plug for when you come to our session at the retreat, but that is a big part of really clarifying your vision and deciding what do you want your morning to look like. Some people need more activity, but some people need that time to just connect with their purpose, center themselves, get the courage to go through the day. So I think that is the part, is getting in touch enough with yourself to know whether it's sex, whether it's relationships, whether it's talking to God, whatever it is that you need to do to connect with your source to get your energy for that day, right? It can shift from day to day. So I think that is the part of, for me, finding and planning the space for myself to be quiet has helped me to get clarity around what are those things that refill my cup. Because I think as moms, that's so huge. We're like always pouring. I'm like, I ain't got nothing left. I don't know. Call your grandma.
Well, to your point, I think that it's important that you, like I said, like you said, allocate that time, in my words, for those spiritual downloads, right? Because if you're giving of yourself, there has to be something that kind of happens to you that re-energizes you, refuels you, so you can deal with all the chaos of life. So, Disha, I hope that we answered your question. I think, again, at the end of the day, it's just you prioritizing what's important, and making sure that you are going throughout your day very intentional. I think that's the key word. Just have intention behind what it is that you're looking to accomplish. And, like, at the end of the day, you want to feel fulfilled. You want to know, like, oh, at least I knocked this out. So we are winding down on our time because I have to go catch a flight. But do you guys have any more questions before we wrap up today's? Stop it, Meredith. No, they can ask.
Catch a flight.
They can ask a question. I have like 3 minutes.
No, that's how you do it all. You could trip on the way. We want you to have your time so you can get there because you are the woman behind the business and you are the woman behind the retreat. So everybody going to the retreat.
Oh, look.
Oh, look, you're going to show.
What
is this? Oh, okay.
Isn't it cute?
I love it. So are those going to be on sale at the retreat?
Yes, they will.
Ooh.
We got the jackets, we got the shirts, we got beach towels. So yeah, it should be good.
Now, do you accept credit cards or do I need to travel with cash in order to get these things?
We accept credit cards. Cash deferred. But we accept.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so next Tuesday, are we going to be doing this from the beach?
Are you still going to be there Tuesday?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll do it a little
We'll be
earlier.
there together.
Yeah, maybe we'll have to do it a little bit earlier. But I think that's a good way to end it. They can follow us over the next week to see the behind the scenes of the retreat. I know I plan to be
live.
Yeah, I guess on Facebook.
Lots of lives. We'll be doing like little spurts of like just from the sessions. This is my goal. I'm hoping to do all these things. But yes, it's going to be great.
Believing.
Yes, we're claiming it. So if you are not joining us, you will be able to tune in for little snapshots here and there. Meredith, any last minute words before we sign off until we hit the Bahamas?
I would say for anybody listening, if you are feeling stuck with this time management and your roles, pick 3 things that you want to do each day. Just 3 things. We know that your mind cannot process more than that, and make sure that one of them is something for you. That it's not just all work and everything like that. Whatever it is, make sure that you are one of the 3 things on your to-do list for today. And with that, Angel, I want you to be at the top of your to-do list, and I want you to be there at your gate so you can catch your flight. I'll see you in the Bahamas.
Yes. Peace out, homies. Have a great week. Be blessed. Until next time.